Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates post-game live after the Warriors claim a 125-111 victory over the Milwaukee Bucks at Fiserv Forum on Monday. This Jimmy Butler era is going pretty well. It's going pretty well. He and Steph Curry again combining spectacularly for Golden State. Steph goes for 38. Jimmy goes for 29 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, just did a bit of everything. The impact that this guy is having on this franchise already through just 2 games, and therefore you expect him to only get better as he becomes more acclimatized to the Warriors system. But the impact that he's having already is palpable. The Warriors, I think the biggest thing from this game is the fact the Warriors shoot less than 29% from three-point range and yet put up 125 points because they get to the free throw line 37 times. Right, Butler leads that with another 15 trips to the line. I think he went 12 of 15, did he? Just checking this. I've got the Lakers Jazz game up, just watching Luka's debut in Los Angeles. But yeah, Jimmy went 12 of 15 from the line. The Warriors 30 of 37, 81.1%. You take that. Overall, according to Anthony Slater of The Athletic, Jimmy Butler is the first Golden State player since Kevin Durant in 2018 to have back-to-back games with at least 13 free throw attempts. So he has been absolutely huge for the Warriors. You cannot deny his impact so far. The Bucks, without Giannis Antetokounmpo, they played okay. Dame had 38, went off, obviously with the extra opportunity and the offensive burden with Giannis out of the lineup. But the Warriors, they were in front for the majority of the game, felt not in control necessarily, but felt like the better team for the majority of the game. I think the Bucks came back in the third and took a 1-point lead briefly. Warriors kind of steady, took a 6-point lead to the fourth, and then were able to create some separation early in the fourth there with Quentin Post. I'm sure we'll get into him, but oh my goodness. Some of the stuff from Quentin Post early in the fourth quarter, I nearly fell off my chair watching the game. It was wild. Anyway, let's get into some of your guys' comments here as we go through. FTW Clan says, good win. I know I'm not the only one who just feels so much more confident when Jimmy is out there. Yeah, he's a star player. He's a star player, and when you're a legitimate bona fide star, there's a level of trust that fans can just have in your game. And I don't want to dismiss Andrew Wiggins by any means, but I think I probably underplayed the difference between the two. I know a lot of people probably did that. I was certainly of the belief that, hey, Jimmy Butler's a better player than Andrew Wiggins. And I've said on this podcast and post-game lives and stuff for weeks that, hey, do I really want to make the trade, particularly when Butler can walk for a few months after a few months in free agency? No, I didn't really want to. Again, as I said immediately after the trade, the fact he got an extension, albeit a big extension, made me feel a lot better about it because I'm like, okay, I know he's going to be here for at least the medium term, I suppose, the next 2.5 seasons. But I think a lot of us downplayed the difference between Andrew Wiggins and Jimmy Butler as players. And I think it was probably a bit disrespectful to Jimmy to try and claim that Wiggs was a similar similar caliber player to him. Like, Andrew Wiggins is a very, very, very good player. He made one all-star team. Do I think Andrew Wiggins will ever make an all-star team again? Probably not. And Jimmy Butler is a 6-time all-star, all-NBA caliber player, has led 2 pretty average Miami Heat teams to the NBA Finals. Like, he is a superstar of this league. He still is when fully fit and healthy and engaged and motivated like he is right now. He is a fantastic player. And so, again, not to dismiss Wiggs, but the upgrade here, at least from the first 2 games, has been pretty substantial all over the floor in terms of the creation, like his passing. When they're doubling Steph and Jimmy gets it in like the mid-post area at the free throw line, his ability to either score off that or play make off that is like, it's just a level of creation that the Warriors just flat out didn't have before this. They just did not have it. We know the free throw shooting. That's the thing that, plenty of people are going to point to. Look, I'm not sure at 35 years old he's necessarily wanting to be a big-time on-ball defender, but this guy's instincts off the ball, like all 4 of his steals pretty much came from him just playing passing lanes and knowing where the guy's going to pass the ball before the guy even knows. And just getting the passing lane, and that allows the Warriors to get out into transition. So his defense has been great. rebounding. Like, he's just, again, there's a reliability factor about him as a star player that the Warriors just didn't have with Andrew Wiggins. And, Steve Kerr said before the season, Wiggs is a certified 20-plus point per game scorer. And he's just not. He never was with the Warriors. He was a very, very good player. And again, I don't want to turn this in. I love Wiggs. I wish him all the best in Miami. Hope one day he comes back to Golden State. I'd love him on the team right now next to Steph and Butler. It'd be fantastic. But he was never a 20-point per game scorer with the Warriors. He flat out, and you look through his numbers throughout the 5 years, at no point did he ever average over 20 points a game. And with Butler, he made 4 field goals in this game. 4, right? And yet he still had a tremendous impact. He still got to 20 points just because he can get to the free throw line, right? This guy is a 20-point per game scorer on top of the rebounding, on top of the playmaking, on top of the defense. It's something. And it's also like, it feels like it's rejuvenated Steph primarily, and like a lot of other players. And Steve talked about it after that win over the Bulls on Saturday. Like, he has an aura about him. He has that dog in him. He brings a sense of confidence for the other players to say, hey, we've got another superstar level player here now who we can play off. And we're not just wholeheartedly relying on Steph Curry. And I think it also mentally it helps a lot of players. Mentally, it helps Steph knowing that, hey, every time I go to the bench, I don't have to stress about it because I've got another guy here who can control things while I'm on the bench. I don't know. It's huge. Sorry, back to your comments, though. Got a few to get through here. FTW Clan, just to finish off on what he said, we have real potential to be dangerous on both ends of the floor when Kuminga comes back. It's going to be hard for other teams to worry about Curry, Butler, and Kuminga out there all being aggressive. Yeah, I'm thoroughly looking forward to that trio. I mean, the Warriors are just like, a lot of these guys are playing well right now. I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't want to go too hard too early. It's back-to-back wins. That's all it is. They, in the last week, they lost to the Utah Jazz in Utah, and the Lakers, they were down a lot early to the Jazz, and even against the Bulls, they were down 24 in the third quarter. So I don't want to get too over the top here, but it's also hard not to get, pretty excited when, even a guy like Buddy Hield is rounding into some form. Like, he played well against the Bulls the other day. He has another, I think he had 14 first half points here, and the ends with 16, 7 rebounds. But, it was pretty active, a plus 11 in 30 minutes, like 7 of 15 shooting from the floor. Had that 5, but, 9 points, 9 rebounds. Connection is unstable. Hopefully I'm still going. You guys can hear me. I think I'm back on now. Sorry about that. But, you got Quentin Post as a revelation. The only one that I'd say is probably struggling at the moment is Draymond, and I think that's probably understandable given he's, recently returned from injury, but his shot doesn't look great. Still having a little bit of defensive impact. Still doing, he had 5 steals in this game. Had 3 rebounds, 5 assists. So he's rounding into some form after the injury, but you'd still like to see. Draymond's probably the only one at the moment where you'd say we probably need a lift from him, particularly coming up against 2 good teams in the Mavericks and the Rockets coming up here to close out before the All-Star break. Robbie says Jimmy can impact the game so much even when he has a mid-shooting night. Pods is kind of the same way. Yep, absolutely agree with that. Priscilla says, I'm just glad Buddy is doing good right now. Yeah, got to give him some props. I think there's a lot of us that would have preferred him to be off the team by the trade deadline. But look, he's capable of these games. Like, he's not, when he's shooting the ball okay, when he's being active, like, he's a solid enough NBA player. And I also hope, like, with Jimmy now in the mix, Buddy's role becomes a little bit easier. Now, again, 15 shot attempts is maybe a little bit too much. Maybe 30 minutes is a little bit too much. We'll see what happens when Kuminga comes back, what the kind of lineups and rotations look like. But I'd imagine for the foreseeable future, Buddy Hield will probably continue being the Warriors' starting 2 guard. And, that could cause some issues defensively with him and Steph. But overall, this is a nice start to the Jimmy Butler era. And Buddy Hield's playing a role in that, it must be said. Robbie P says Post is no doubt a solid shooter. Oh my, he had 3. So he didn't start this game. So Steve went small with Steph, Buddy, Butler, Moody, and Draymond at the 5. And it worked. It worked a little bit. It was fine. But Quentin Post, credit to him, because a lot of young players, a lot of rookies could get dejected by that, could lose some confidence. If anything, his confidence went up in the fourth quarter because those series of threes, he had a catch and shoot 3, which was fairly open. And then like a couple of possessions later, the Warriors got out into transition. I think it was Pods that found him on the wing. He was it Gary Trent Jr., I think? He kind of pump faked, let Gary Trent Jr. fly by, and then sidestep off the dribble three. And I was just like, I was lost for words. I was like, there's no way I've just seen a second round, 52nd overall pick, 7-foot rookie make a sidestep three early in the fourth quarter of a pretty close-ish game against a pretty good Milwaukee team, albeit they were without Giannis. I was gobsmacked. And then he also made a three, like a couple of feet behind the three-point line, where I think it might have been Lopez. Like, I thought Lopez actually did a pretty good job of, realizing the scouting report and closing out to Quentin Post pretty well throughout the game. But QP made like a three where I thought Lopez was pretty close to him in terms of I didn't think he was going to pull that, and he did, and he just drilled it, nothing but net. Had 11 points basically in the first 5 minutes of the fourth quarter and allowed the Warriors to get out to a double-digit lead where they were never really threatened again. So Quentin Post, my goodness. I mean, you look at it, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 15 minutes, 3 or 4 from deep. Got to the free throw line. I liked his activity on the boards there early in the fourth quarter as well. Had a couple of offensive rebounds to give Golden State some more opportunities. Knox says, Warriors looking good, but don't think it's enough. Would probably have to go 20-10 to make it around the 6 to 9 range. Yeah, that's the issue. And this is what I spoke about for weeks and weeks and weeks, is that, if they don't make a move until the trade deadline, that by that point, it could be too late. And, that could well be the case. Like, they've made this Jimmy Butler trade. They look really good now over the first 2 games. But they're still now, like, that win pushes them a game above 500 at 27, 26, 29 games to go. Yeah, you're probably right. They're going to have to go 20-10, I think. I think the goal at this point is to probably get the 7 or 8 seed, because I think if you get to the 7 or 8 seed, it's a pretty good indication you've had a strong second half of the season, that the Butler-Curry combination is working really well. And then if you get 2 opportunities at the play-in tournament, I'd just be surprised if, a Curry-Butler duo lost both playing games. Again, going back to what FTW Clan said earlier, is like the confidence level. I just feel like I have confidence and trust that those guys will win one of the 2 games, right, to make the playoffs. And then who knows, like OKC, like they're going to be heavy favorites, but I don't think the Warriors necessarily are scared of OKC. Like, who's going to finish second? Houston, Memphis? I don't know. Maybe the Warriors can pull off an upset, but obviously they've got to get to the playoffs first. The next says, Post is him, 4th consecutive 30-plus game for Steph. Yeah, those first 2 30-point games were very inefficient. He took over 30 shots to do so. But the last 2 games with Jimmy back, or Jimmy now in the lineup, I should say, he's been excellent. Steph has been excellent. And I don't know, it's almost, you don't want the Warriors to find some momentum here and then have the All-Star break kind of happen. That'd come at a weird time, which I suppose the other way to look at it is, hey, Steph, I know he's going to play in the All-Star game and whatnot, but he should get a rest here for a week period, and that can hopefully help him continue to recover from the knee, the thumb, whatever other ailments and injuries he's had here across the course of the season. But it's great to see him, really find his best here over the last 2 games. Jeffrey says, Post is him, bro, 50-something pick. Yeah, the shooting is just... I suppose, I can understand why Steve went small in this game, because, Giannis wasn't there and Brook Lopez lives out on the perimeter, so you can get away with not necessarily having that, big interior guy. But, I mean, this guy's good. Like, he's legit good. He's 3-point shooting right now. What's he shooting on the season? It must be like over 40% from 3. He's going to get wide open looks with Butler and Steph out there. I really like the combination of like the start of the second, start of the fourth quarter, when you've got Butler, Draymond, and Quentin Post front court combination. I think that's a really nice balance, offense and defense. The shooting, Butler's interior presence. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that when Kuminga comes back. Maybe you could try and even reduce. I mean, Draymond played 32 minutes in this game. When Kuminga comes back, and if he's playing at a reasonable level, and once he's off a minutes restriction, you could get Draymond, I think, down to 27, 28 minutes. Really, if Post is going to continue this kind of level, if Kuminga is looking okay, like Draymond's necessity when Kuminga comes back isn't necessarily huge, right? And like Loon is the same. So Loon plays 12 minutes in this game, 4 points, 5 rebounds. Okay, but even like he could be squeezed out entirely. He could be squeezed out entirely from the rotation once Kuminga comes back. It's going to be interesting to see. Fenix says we had 15 steals and forced game to 10 turnovers. Yeah, the defense was really good. I mean, there were stretches where it wasn't great, but particularly, second half, some of Butler getting in the passing lanes, some of the hustle back on defense was far better than what we saw, particularly against the Lakers and even at times in that first half against the Bulls on Saturday. Berserk Monk says, yeah, really great game. Luckily, we didn't have to face Giannis. I don't think we have an answer for him. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's a completely different ball game, right? It's a completely different ball game when Giannis is out there or any star player for any teams out there. And the Warriors, they're running into a little bit of fortune here with Anthony Davis obviously getting injured in his Mavericks debut, and the Warriors play the Mavericks later this week. I think they also play the Mavericks. Let me just check. Because they play the Mavs again, don't they? At some point. 24th of Feb. Yeah, so 24th of Feb. 23rd, I should say, 24th my time. So the Warriors are going to play the Mavericks twice here without AD. So, look, at the end of the day, I hate seeing stars get injured, but I'm also a Golden State Warriors fan, and this team needs everything they can get to go their way in order to make the playoffs. So if we get to face the Bucks without Giannis, great. If we get to play the Mavericks a couple of times without AD, great. I don't want those guys to be out for very long. They can play against every other team if they want. But at the end of the day, this team is 27 and 26. They need everything to go their way, and that probably includes some injury misfortune from other teams. As much as I hate to say it, I don't want to see any player get injured, let alone star players. I'm a Warrior fan, okay? Giannis plays this game. There's a good chance they probably lose. Warriors instead get a 14-point win. Great. Happy days. We move on. Ghost says we finally have a bootleg Shea. I was talking to a mate yesterday who's a Thunder fan and big Shea fan, and I always get into him. It's like, Shea, I hate watching him play. Just foul baiting and gets to the free throw line. It's so boring to watch. And then I messaged him yesterday, and I was like, I can see why you love Shea. And he's like, oh, here we go. What do you mean? I was like, well, because I saw Jimmy Butler get to the line 13 times against the Bulls, and I was loving it. I was absolutely loving it. And I don't think Jimmy gets fouled legitimately. He's going to the line. He's going to the line 28 times here. But I feel like it's all been legitimate. There's no foul baiting stuff with him like you can argue with Shea. I think everyone realizes Jimmy Butler is great at getting to the free throw line, but no one, Jimmy Butler doesn't have any kind of reputation of foul baiting and getting to the free throw line in a way that isn't warranted. So, it's great. And the fact the Warriors get to the line 37 times in this game, because not only does Jimmy get to the free throw line himself, but that ability to get other teams in the bonus early on. And then, all of a sudden the other guys on the Warriors, they start being aggressive, start attacking, because they know that, hey, if there's any contact here, it doesn't even have to be a shot attempt. I'm just going to the free throw line. So it's huge. Can't be understated. Berserk Monk says we also don't have a point of attack defender to disrupt Shea anymore. Good point. I wonder. There's a part of me that hopes I don't want. It's almost like Draymond. It's almost like Draymond with Jimmy, where I don't think at his age you want him to be a night to night every game guy who goes out and guards the opposition's best guard or wing. I don't think you want that. But come playoff time, I think that's a scenario where you're saying that the Warriors don't have a point of attack defender for Shea. Maybe Jimmy puts his hand up and says, "Here, this is what I'm here for. I'm a playoff performer as Draymond is. I'm taking the defensive task of guarding Shea Gilgeous-Alexander." Now, whether he can get away with that while having the energy to do what he needs to do offensively, who knows? But we'll just got to wait and see if that comes to pass in the playoffs. As I said before, we got to get there first anyway. Jeffrey says, Buddy played good, but give me 2 to 3 week streak, then I'll say he should start. Good point. Orlando says, Warriors are looking into acquiring Larry Nance Jr. or Bojan. Nance Jr. would be interesting because he's like a kind of stretch five. He's a weird player because he's kind of a tweener. He's not really a 4 because he doesn't have the shooting for that, but he's slightly undersized at 5. But he's also a solid rebounder. I think he'd fit the Warriors system. Like, he can pass the ball a little bit. I wouldn't mind Larry Nance Jr. if he gets bought out. I'm not sure what the chances are of that. And Bogdanovic, I don't mind him, but it's probably more idea than reality because he's been injured the whole season. He's coming off foot surgery, which is dangerous in itself, let alone when you're 35 years old. Never a great defender. Look, he's a solid 3-point shooter, but because he hasn't played this season, you're really going into the unknown with him. If you're signing him, you're probably doing it not expecting anything, and anything you do get is a positive. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. The Warriors probably make a couple more acquisitions here. I still think Kevin Knox will be one of them. Maybe Nance would probably be ideal if he does get bought out. Bascano says, let's remember that Jimmy is not in game shape. Yeah. I've said that before. Like, this is 2 really good games, and yet, like, he's going to get into game shape more. He's going to acclimatize to the Warrior system more. It's a great start. Joe Boy says the way Jimmy plays that Steph is amazing. He can lead a team. I mean, not only can he lead a team, he's led 2 Miami teams to the NBA Finals. So, again, to go back to what FCW Clan said at the start, like, to have a guy out there when Steph's on the bench who you have full faith in him being able to run an offense. When was the last time we had this? When was the last time we had a scenario where the Warriors had a guy in this non-Steph minutes who could just run the offense and you felt completely comfortable and trusted in that? KD. It has to have been KD because, it's Jordan Poole was great for us. If you go back to the 2022-23 season when Jordan Poole kind of got the backup point guard duties, and I don't think they put him in a great position because they also had lineups with like Wiseman and Kuminga, and they went really young, and it probably didn't really help Poole too much. But he just never really, he always played best playing next to Steph. Like, he just did, okay? And so he wasn't really it. Clay, you could run a lot more actions for him, but Clay obviously was never a player you're going to put the ball in his hands and be reliably trusting in that to create offense for you. So it's really, the Warriors haven't had this for 5-6 years, legitimately. Same with Wiggins. Again, Wiggins, great player, but great player next to Steph, not a guy who's going to run the second unit for you. Ghost says Bojan's still hurt. Yeah, he hasn't played a game this season. I was looking at updates before this. Brooklyn have given 0 updates, basically, aside from saying he's still rehabbing. Pascando says Jimmy has that dog in him. FTW Clan says we still have GP2 in relation to the point of attack defender. Yeah, he's someone you can throw out there. I'm not sure how much he's going to be. We're looking way too far forward into playoff action, but I'm not sure how much you're going to want GP2 out there in a playoff rotation, with the Warriors. The Warriors still have a lack of shooting, right? They still do. Draymond, Butler. Draymond's 3-point shot looks not good at the moment. Butler doesn't want to take them. He took a couple of corner threes in this game. He took one. So he's taken 3 3-point attempts in 2 games. And again, credit to the guy for being so good without a 3-point shot. It's crazy. But, he doesn't want to take threes. Kuminga is a more willing 3-point shooter, but not a great one. So when he comes back, again, how do they do that? Loon, if he continues to play off the bench, TJD, if he comes back into the mix. So, again, we'll wait and see. I'm not sure how much you can play GP2 going forward, particularly when Kuminga returns. Bascano says Wiggins is too passive. Also says Jimmy will get better with time. He'll be a great mentor for Kuminga. Yeah, all we've heard over the last couple of days is this guy is the perfect mentor, the perfect illustration for Jonathan Kuminga on who you can be. They're both 6'7", they're both really physical, they both get to the rim, they both get to the free throw line, they're both questionable 3-point shooters, they both can work in the mid. JK, for as much as we focus on the 3-point shooting, actually has a really good mid-range game at times. Anyway, I mean the percentages probably don't suggest so necessarily, but he gets to the line, does a lot of the same stuff Jimmy does. And that could be a huge help. Now, I'm still going to be interested to see how those 2 guys work together. I'm optimistic. I still have some question marks on the spacing. But at the same time, I'm looking at Jimmy Butler going 0 of 3 in 2 games from beyond the arc, and yet he's having so much impact. That kind of tends that lends me into thinking that, him and Kuminga and Draymond, however this works in terms of the lineups and rotations moving forward, I have some optimism about it. There's no doubt about that. Orlando says we already beat the Thunder. No more regular season games for them. Piscano says since 2010, Butler is 6 in free throws attempted, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think did that come up on the broadcast? I think they had that. Orlando says Bojan's been cleared. Can you link a source to me for that? Because I couldn't find that. Piscano says the only problem we'll have is if we make the playoffs is playing against bigs like Jokic. Good point. Wonder if there's one of those on the buyout market. Berserk Monk says, in today's NBA, every team needs a free throw merchant. We finally have one. This team's dead last. Dead last in free throw percentage, 27th in free throw attempts before Jimmy Butler arrives. And now all of a sudden they're taking 37 today and making 81% of them. FTW Clan says, Jimmy just settles us down in close games with a sense of calm and confidence with him in the lineup. Dan Dex says, Pods had some good charges. Yeah, drew that one from Kuzma again early in the fourth quarter. Like, Pods has got back to a point now, like, even when he's not shooting the ball and, like, scoring the ball that efficiently, like, he's getting back to just, like, his all-around impact that he was, he was making and producing in his rookie year. Orlando says, Dunleavy has the green light to go all in. I'm thinking Zion, sign and trade Kuminga for Zion this offseason. Also says Draymond was on a defensive tear tonight. Showboy says Dre's spot is in jeopardy. I want to give him some time he dealt with, that calf issue or whatever else. I want to give him a little bit of time here. B-Musk says everybody playing better now that they're not being asked to do too much. Good point. Really, that's very, when you don't have that second star, it just kind of elevates everyone else's roles into having to be probably bigger and better than what they actually are in reality. And therefore, like, you get that second star and you make sure that, like, at all times, you've always got Steph or Jimmy on the floor, right, as the central point of your offense. And therefore, everyone else can kind of just fall back into their own individual roles. Berserk says Zion for Kuminga would be an insane trade. It would probably cost the Warriors at least 2 first-round picks. We'll see what Zion does over the remainder of the season. Then next says we have the same record as the Kings in one game behind Dallas. They just lost. The Mavs lose to the Kings, did they? Sack got the win in OT. I was kind of following that game, but I didn't watch any of it. DeRozan went for 42. Levine, 1 of 6. He's struggling shooting the ball since coming to the Kings. Did have 17, 4 and 4, but how did Clay go? Clay, 5 of 10 from 3, 19 points. Was a minus 14 though. Gafford got injured for them, so they're in a bit of trouble with their big man department because Gafford's out, Lively's out, AD's out. Like, you've got Omax playing 34 minutes. Played okay, 16 points, 4 rebounds. But, like, are they just going to go super small now? See what happens with Gafford. I saw him, like, hobble off. Clip on social media. So, Timberwolves lost to the Cavs as well, which is good. That's good news. Spurs beat the Wizards. I mean, we're asking too much, I think, if we want the Wizards to beat the Spurs. Wemby had 31 and 15. Fox had 34 and 6. Scary duo there, but the Warriors have now got a scary duo of their own. Jeffrey says, Jimmy's a dog. We don't forget about Rachel Nichols during 20 season, bro. Was putting in work on the court and off the court. The good old COVID bubble. Ghost says, bring up Knox. I reckon that'll happen. Very likely. Orlando says he posted that contested 3. Yeah, he had that, like, he had a wide open one, and then he's like, all right, I've hit 1, I'm in a rhythm, and then he hit the sidestep 3, and I was like, whoa. And then he took that one over Lopez when Lopez was pretty close to him, and it was like early in the shot clock, and he took it, and I was like, oh, wow, he took that shot, and then it went in. I was like, oh, okay. But he was on fire early in the fourth. Berserkman says, wow, Kings beat the Mavs. Levine hasn't looked great since not being the number 1 option. Warriors might have got fortunate there, maybe. They could have made the Levine-Vucevic trade. Thank God they did the Butler trade, because if they didn't do the Levine-Vuce trade in holding out for a bigger star, and then they just didn't get a star, and they basically did nothing at the deadline. That would have frustrated a lot of fans. But credit to Mike Dunleavy Jr. I was a little bit like, at the time when they passed up on the Levine Vucevic thing, I was like, okay, if you want a bigger name, you better go and get one. Like, you better execute it. Can't be another case of, oh, we tried, but we couldn't get it done. And credit to them, they got Jimmy Butler, right? They got Jimmy Butler. They paid a big price, not from the trade, but in terms of giving him an extension. Again, that extension looks pretty good right now based on the first two games. Robbie says Curry, Moody, Jimmy, Dre, post to start with JK, six-man prop best for spacing. I think they're going to continue starting Buddy Hield. I'm with you. That would actually be my starting five. That would be mine. I don't think they'll do it. I think they'll go with Buddy over Moody, because I know you can look at the percentages and say, well, Moody is arguably a better three-point shooter than Buddy Hield based on the percentages, but there's a couple of things. Buddy Hield has a much quicker release than Moses Moody. Like, Moody still has a bit of a wind up on his three, which allows defenders to close out, and therefore allows defenders to play off him a little bit more. And I just think Buddy Hield is a noted three-point shooter, volume-wise, the best three-point shooter over the last 5 or 6 years in the entire league, right? We saw that stat before he came to the Warriors in terms of him having more threes than Steph total over the previous 5 seasons. And therefore, I think defenses still play up on Buddy as if he's a really dangerous three-point sniper, which he still can be, as much as the percentages and the play has been really poor basically since the start of December, maybe even before that. Berserk Monk says Kings fans are saying that Levine can't play defense. FTW Clan says Jimmy's presence instantly puts all of our role players into more manageable and realistic roles in terms that are more achievable. Mr. will drop in the standings. They just lost Gafford. Lively not close to coming back. AD don't know if he's coming back. And Berserk Monk says, and PG injured too. Mavs falling apart badly. Yeah. So I think we're half a game from the Mavs now, aren't we? Because they've also got 26 losses. So, yeah, we just win our next game, and that'll be... Are they 28 and 26? We're 27 and 26? I think 7-8 seed. That's got to be the goal. Orlando says the chef has found his butler. Orlando said that starting lineup worked. We had total control of the whole game. Again, it worked because there was no Giannis, and because Lopez is a stretch five who, I mean... He'll post up on huge mismatches, but he wouldn't see Draymond as a huge mismatch. So he's just out there spacing the floor, and the Warriors didn't really need an interior big. Berserk Monk says, my guess is Mavs will fall down to the 10th seed and teeter there for a while. Maybe we stay between the 6th and 8th seed. Yeah. We've got to try and, can we try and create some separation? Because we're tied with the Kings now. We are, half a game essentially behind the Mavs, half a game ahead of the Suns now because they don't play today. I don't think. No. So can we try and the 8th seed is very doable. The 8th seed is very doable, but I'd prefer to can we go on a run here and actually create some separation here and try and get a 3-4 game gap, but from the 8th seed, compared to the Mavs, Suns, and Kings. So we'll see. Gamer F2B, Jimmy a free throw merchant. I love it. Denex says miss weeks, but he would never get the calls Jimmy gets. Gamer F2P, can we get some respect, love for QP? We've been giving him love. I've been giving him love. That man, that early fourth quarter was, again, that sidestep three might be the most ridiculously good thing I've seen for the entire season from a Warrior perspective. That was, I was lost for words. Gamer of TP says we have shooting. It's getting to the line confidently. We didn't have, thus we're scoring 120 plus now. Yeah, we scored 125, shooting less than 29% from three. Berserk Monk says because of the lack of shooting and lack of an elite point of attack defender, that's where we'll miss Wiggins the most. But 1-for-1, Jimmy will always be the better player overall. Gamer F2P says Wiggins debut 11 point, hits 3-3-pointers, but zero impact in the game versus Celtics. At least he had 4 rebounds. Yeah, I watched the first quarter of that. Wiggs Wiggs' signature move now might be getting fouled on the 3-point line. I cannot believe he gets fouled from three as much as he does. It's like some defenders act as if he's Steph Curry and like close out recklessly, and he gets fouled from three so much. Did that on the first possession of the game, made 3 free throws, made his first three. A couple of minutes later, had 6 points in his first like 5 or 6 minute stint, and then did bugger all after that. Again, 11 points. I think he was 3 of 12 shooting. Made 2 threes, I think, and then he went to the line and made 3 free throws on a 3-point foul that started the game off there. Had 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Kyle Anderson missed all 5 of his shots, didn't have a great start, played less than 10 minutes either. The slow-mo stuff is fascinating. I don't know. I don't want to go early on that, but I thought he was going to be super valuable for Golden State, and he just like was okay, but just Steve was like, I've had enough. And then I'm not sure how much he's going to play for Miami. Don't know. It's weird. Like I thought he was going to be great, and now he's not that his career is in jeopardy because he's still under contract for another 2 seasons. But yeah, it's a bit odd. Berserk Monk says, not a fair game for Wiggs, though. Tyler Hero didn't play. Miami basically threw Wiggins to the Wolves on his debut. That's the point, though. That's exactly the point Golden State made the trade, is because you don't want Wiggins as a go-to scorer, go-to shot creator. Like, you don't want that. You want him playing off other star players. And no surprise, like no Tyler Hero, Wiggs really struggled, right? And he's always better playing off. Like, I was looking at Wiggs' numbers without Steph in his Warrior career, and you would have thought, okay, so without Steph, he's probably going to get more usage, and therefore, like, his numbers will be better. They're basically the same. Like, he pretty much averages the same with Steph, and then when he's out of the lineup, injured or resting or whatever. So you just don't want him as that guy, which is exactly for how good Wiggs is. I love him, always will. He's always got a place in Warrior hearts. Like, clearly, Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office were just like, we need another guaranteed, certified, go-to creator in the non-Steph minutes, and that's why they went out and got Jimmy Butler. Like, it's very, very obvious. Very obvious. Jarmusch says, how about my boy Quinton? He should get all the starting 7 minutes while TJD and Looney get the bench minutes. I think he will probably go back into the starting lineup. I think he will. Against Dallas, I reckon they're probably going to stay small against the Mavericks because Dallas don't have any bigs now. Gafford out, Lively out, AD out. Mr. Level, Rachel Nichols was probably the first Joy Taylor. Let's move on. Let's not talk about that. Gamer FTP says, Post is the real deal. Just needed to bulk up a bit. He had a nice block too. His defense is like... It's not horrific. Like, it needs improvement, but it's like, I feel like he needs a little bit more confidence on defense. Like, I feel like at the moment, the coaching staff are just telling him, okay, just straight up, don't try and do anything. I think in time, he's like a legit 7 foot, obviously. Maybe in time, he'll actually have the confidence on the defensive end to try a bit more in terms of, I'm actually going to try and block this one, or I'm going to do more than just like literally go straight up and basically hope that the attacking player misses it. Like, that's kind of what, like, he's had the odd block here or there, but I think I'm not saying he's going to be this all-worldly defender or anything like that, but I think he's like going to be solid enough. And then when you've got his kind of offensive game, like, this guy could be a like legitimately good NBA player. And I wrote about this as well yesterday, is that the Warriors need to make a decision on him, like, in terms of the rest of this season, because is he going to be a guy who can be a reliable starting caliber center for you moving forward? Because if he's not, then you've invested in this Steph, Jimmy, Draymond trio for the next 2 seasons. You need to go out and basically be very meticulous with the remainder of your roster and go out and get a reliable, probably veteran starting big. Now, if Quinton Post displays over the rest of the season that, no, like, I can be that guy, I'm a consistent player, can knock down legit 40% from 3, can improve my rebounding, can improve my defense to a point where, hey, you can bank me in for 20, 25 minutes in the starting role next season. Great. Like, that's ideal. Fantastic. Particularly on such a low contract for next season. So, like, the Warriors have a decision to make here in terms of Quinton Post. And that's probably unfair on a rookie center, but it's also like the reality of where the Warriors find themselves in, where they've invested financially, particularly in this Jimmy, Steph, and Draymond trio here for the next 2 seasons. Gamer F2P. Sorry, I've already read that. So that says QP's post defense is my main concern, and his PNR defense. As long as the Warriors can master that, we should be okay. Happened tonight against Bobby. Right, he says if we get back to the finals, imagine how scared the Celtics would be. Jeez, I'm just trying to make the playoffs before we talk about the finals. Mr. Levis said, I don't think the Celtics get back. Cleveland look really scary, especially with the Hunter edition. Jeremy says post defense is like that of a rookie. It'll get better over time, but he will need playing time to improve this skill. Kerr can't moody him. I don't think he will. I don't think he can be moodied because with the Warriors front court, with Jimmy, with Draymond, with Kuminga, like they just flat out need a shooting 5. And like they didn't add another one at the deadline. So they have to play post. They have to play him at least 15 minutes a game. Like he played 15 minutes, and that's kind of in this game, and that's kind of the floor, right? I expect that's the minimum he plays every game moving forward. Bit of talk from Mr. Level on the Cavs and the Celtics and competition in the East. Dan Dex says, if we meet the Lakers in the playoffs, do you think we can beat them? They've been playing well lately. I'd say unlikely, but we'll just wait and see what happens in the next, the final 29 games of the season. I might feel much better about that. If it's also going to be interesting to see. I don't know how we'd actually play the Lakers, at least in the first round. Like they're not going to be a top 3 seed. I wouldn't have thought. Maybe they can get there, and then the Warriors aren't going to be a top. Like the Warriors and the Lakers aren't going to meet in the first round. It just seems very unlikely based on the standings at the moment. Maybe in the second round, possibly like we saw a couple of years ago where the Warriors were the 6 seed and the Lakers were the 7 seed, I think. Mr. Level says the lack of big men can hurt them. I don't think they would want to play the Nuggets in the first or second round. True. Imagine Jackson Hayes having to go against Yoda to return. So Mike says 1 point on Wiggins. He's overqualified as a role player, super elite role player, but he's underqualified to have been the clear number 2 for this Warriors roster. Wiggs as a 3 would have been ideal. I'd like it's almost now they wouldn't have done this, but like if you could have turned the Jordan Poole contract into Jimmy Butler, right, and somehow still had Wiggins on this team with Butler, with Steph, with Draymond, that would be perfect. That would be perfect. I think because you could actually start Wiggs at the 2 then, and if you've got Quentin Post at the 5, and you'd still maybe have enough shooting there, and then maybe you move on from Kuminga because you can't re-sign him in free agency because you don't have enough money there. I don't know, but ultimately they've kind of got the Jordan Poole, and I know the guys on the Warriors Plus Minus podcast spoke about this. They've kind of got the Poole contract back, because now they're paying Butler the combined salary of Poole and Wiggins, basically. Simon says, Jimmy is the man. Post with 4 fire emojis. Then next says, whose minutes does Kuminga get when he comes back? I would think, just looking at this game, because the Warriors fully fit, aren't they, now without Kuminga? Aside from Kuminga, I think GP2 becomes a legit break glass in case of emergency if an opposing guard's going off. I don't think he's in the rotation. Looney, you might need him because you don't want to go to Quentin Post and Draymond as your only centers, but don't think he'd be playing more than 10 to 12 minutes. Santos played 6 minutes in this game. Look, I like Gee. I like what he's been doing. I don't think he'll play. So between Santos 6.5 minutes, Peyton 10 minutes, there's 16. You can probably, I know you need shooting out there, but you can probably slide Buddy down. I think you can actually slide Draymond down. So there's still room here to get Kuminga at least 25 minutes a game. Moody played 33 in this game. He won't play 33 when Kuminga's back. So from this game, Moody played more than he would. Draymond would play more than he would. Buddy, I think, would play more than he would. Peyton played 10 minutes when I think he played 0. Looney played 12. Maybe you could slice a couple of minutes off that. Gee played 6. That'll go down to 0. I think there's still plenty of room for Kuminga to come back here. Berserkman says JK will shaft Moody's minutes. It's true, but Moses is also playing well enough where like he should still be getting 20 minutes. Berserkman says there's no way Kerr chooses JK over Pods or Buddy, unfortunately. I don't know. I hope not. They're going to make a decision on him in restricted free agency too. Righty says, what do you make of TJD's fall from grace? I'm like, he's a second-year guy. He's on a like good contract, like very, very good contract. Obviously, he's getting paid nothing. Second-year Blues, maybe. I don't know. Like, I think he can still be okay. Like, I think he can still be okay. Yeah, it's disappointing. It is what it is. It's also a case of the rest of the Warrior rotate. Like, it's not just TJD, it's just the fact their front court just doesn't have enough shooting. And Steve clearly has made, I think, the right decision by saying Quinton Post can shoot the ball, and therefore he has to be at the floor. He's also like a legit 7 foot, which TJD, and this was always my worry with him coming in, is how is this guy who's 6'9" and has basically no offensive game aside from, put back dunks and lob dunks. Like, how can he be a legit NBA player? Now, he does a lot of things better than Quinton Post as well, but it's pretty hard. Like, Loon's made a career out of it, being 6'9" and not being much of an offensive threat. But, TJD, he's still got time. He's still got time. So, therefore, I'm not overly concerned. It's not like there were points last season where Loon, I was like, this guy might be done because he's like 10 years into the league now and 28. TJD is 2 years in. I'm not overly concerned. Gamer of 2 pieces. I think Buddy gets too many minutes. Berserk Monk agrees. Says Kerr loves playing Buddy, and Buddy has been somewhat playing better these past 2 games. Gamer of 2 pieces. Honestly, I think Looney is not better than TJD, and he's very slow-footed. I honestly believe with TJD back into the start or next off the bench will make GSW confidently blow out teams. I wouldn't hate seeing like TJD playing alongside Jimmy, for example, and seeing what Jimmy's playmaking can kind of do for him. I don't know. It's hard. Like, they've won these 2 games. It's hard to say that TJD should come back into the rotation. So everyone says Looney's a better screener and smarter positional player over TJD at this stage in TJD's career. True. Douglas says Malcolm Brogdon would be our perfect candidate if he's bought out. Possibly. Don't mind it. Not sure if he'll get bought out or not. We'll wait and see. Mr. Lewis says, need to trade TJD unless you get the jump shot and better defense. No. Trading TJD should be the last thing they do. His contract is so good. Like, this is a team that's probably going to re-sign Kuminga and be deep into the tax. Like, you need every single, like, minimum level guy you can get. And because of, like, he's a recent draftee, like, TJD is less than a minimum. And so you need to take advantage. Like, I just would not trade that guy. Basically, obviously you would if you're getting something good back. Like, I get that. But his contract is so good that I'm just not sure I'd do it. Yeah, Douglas, I agree with that. He says he makes nothing. He doesn't have much value. Just keep him and hope he gets better. Agree. Gamer FTP with TJD out. We don't have a lob threat, and that's potent. Looney does not unlock that. Our lead dwindles when Buddy mostly has the ball, says AES. Douglas says somebody the Warriors should take a look at just in case we miss out on the big names in the buyout market is Javonte Green. Wasn't he with Santa Cruz for a period? I'm not a huge fan. He's like a 6'4" power forward who is reasonably athletic, can shoot the ball slightly, but not overly well. I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, I'd prefer just to develop Guy Santos and have him. What's Javonte Green's numbers with the Pelicans? Because he's with the Pels, isn't he? What's his numbers this season? Just checking. 5.8 points, 3.6 rebounds, 44.3%, 36.4% for 3. Give me Kevin Knox. Go says, hopefully JK doesn't mess up the chemistry. Douglas says Javonte Green is a guard. Well, it actually does say he's a shooting guard. I swear he was like a small forward shooting guard. FTW claims, I saw a post of Jimmy getting essentially triple team in the post. He demands attention on the interior. No wonder Curry has had 34 and 38 with Jimmy. Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence either. Jay Talks just ripping into TJD. Oh, dear. All right, we might finish it up there. Been going for just over 50 minutes. Thanks to everyone who has commented. A lot of optimism, a lot of excitement around the Warriors since Jimmy Butler's acquisition with these last two games, stunning second half turnaround against the Bulls on Saturday, and then this comfortable-ish victory, 125-111 over the Bucks. The Warriors have a back-to-back coming up against the Mavericks and the Rockets, as we've spoken about. Can they continue the momentum? I'll be back for another post-game live after. It's the Mavs first, isn't it? I think so. On Wednesday. Yep. So I'll be back for a post-game live after that. If there's any major additions or anything like that beforehand, then I'll certainly come back on, either do a live stream or a podcast episode. But I'll probably, if not, I'll wait until that post-game live after the Mavs game. Hopefully the Warriors can get another win. Douglas says should be called Post the Dutch Oven. Certainly needs a nickname. Needs a nickname of some sort. So for those of you in the replay watching this, then potentially comment down below what you think Quinton Post's nickname should be. If you've also tuned into this via the podcast feed, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that'd be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at POK252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. Thanks again, everyone, and hopefully see you on the post-game live after another Warriors victory on Wednesday against the Mavericks.